Hi again. So for this one, I'm going to look at the state courts of Michigan and a little bit of New York, and then you can kind of compare what I did to find these to whatever state you're looking up. So let's start with the Michigan State Court. So I just Googled Michigan State Court chart, and these charts here from courtstatistics.org are really great. So if you look at it and compare it to the chart that's in 4.6, the Supreme Court is nice and clean and easy. Court of Appeals, great. So we would call this the Michigan Supreme Court and the Michigan Court of Appeals. And then everything down here is really the trial court system. So this is where claims would begin. And it's a little more complicated than what's in 4.6 in that chart, only because this adds city courts or municipal courts. And then within a circuit court, they break it down into probate court and sometimes family court and other things like that. And then court of claims, that's if you're suing the state, like when Flint had the big water crisis and they sued the state, they had to do it in the court of claims. The court of claims is the only court that can hear claims against the state. And that's the same at the federal level. There's a federal court of claims if you want to sue the United States of America. So the top two courts here, Supreme Court and Court of Appeals, those are the only two that can put out published case law that could bind everybody in the state. The trial courts absolutely have no power to create law for anybody else in the state. Now, let's just quickly compare this to New York. So I did the same search for New York State Court chart, and here is the chart for that. And you can see it's a bit more complicated. See at the trial court level down here, there's a lot going on. And then they have their New York Court of Appeals is actually their Supreme Court. It's the highest court, where their Supreme Court is actually a trial court. So you'd sue somebody in the Supreme Court, and that's where you'd start. And then you'd go up to the New York Appellate Divisions of Supreme Court and go on from there. So anyway, it's a little more complicated, but if you're in New York, you'll be able to figure that out. Now the last thing is to find your courthouse. I went to Google Maps and I just put in Ingham County Courthouse because Lansing sits in Ingham County, and there's actually two courthouses, and I Googled it, and I mean I know this because I've practiced in that area, but I Googled it and I found the court page, and they make it clear that in Ingham County it's called the 30th Circuit Court, and there's two courthouses. There's one in downtown Lansing, and then there's one in Mason, and that's the county seat is in Mason. And I Googled it and found some images. The Mason courthouse, I've been in there several times. It's beautiful. It's a historic treasure. And that's what this picture is here. But the map here is showing the one in Lansing. So you just want to be familiar with the courthouses. You should go and look at trials and motion days and things like that. So anyway, that's our practice here. See ya.